we shall discuss about the construction and working of a 4-stroke SI engine. So what do you mean by SI engine? This type of engine is based on the type of ignition. SI, spark ignition engine. That means a spark is given to the charge which initiates the combustion process in the engine. So this electric spark is just like the lighter spark in your gas stove. It is given by the spark plug in the engine. Okay. So this is basically used in petrol engines. Spark ignition is used in petrol engines. Okay. Now let us see what is this 4-stroke engine. Whatever be the engine, it consists of cylinder, piston, connecting rod, crank. So these are the basic components for any engine. But in case of 4-stroke engine, it consists of 2 valves. So this is one valve, this is another valve. So this is called as inlet valve and this is called as exhaust valve. So inlet valve, exhaust valve. So these are the 4 positions of an engine, 4-stroke engine. So what is the purpose of inlet valve? Tell me. What is the purpose of inlet valve? Inlet means the fuel along with air will enter into the charge enters into the combustion chamber through this inlet valve. So the fuel from a petrol tank will enter into the cylinder through this inlet valve only. So we have discussed the construction of IC engine. So in the cylinder head there is a inlet manifold. That means there is a passage through which the fuel enter into the cylinder. Okay. So in order to close and open that inlet manifold, this is the valve, inlet valve. So if this is the open position, for example, if this is at this position, this is closed position. Like that it operates. Okay. And since this is a SI engine, spark ignition engine, this engine consists of a device called as spark plug. What is the name of the device? Spark plug. So this is represented like this. So what is the purpose of this spark plug? You might have seen this spark plug in your motorcycle engines. Okay. The spark plug, the purpose of spark plug is to give the spark to initiate the combustion process. You know what is meant by combustion, right? Now, so this is regarding to the 4-stroke engine. In case of 2-stroke engine, there will not be valves. Instead of valves, there are ports, P-O-R-T-S, ports. So we shall discuss about those things in that session. Okay. So this 4-stroke engine consists of 2 valves. One is inlet valve and another one is exhaust valve. So here this exhaust valve is used to expel the combustion gases. To expel the combustion gases after producing work. So they are called as exhaust gases. So they are sent out through this exhaust valve. So this is the way through which the charge enters and this is the way through which the exhaust gases leaves the cylinder. Right? Now let us see. So this is our TDC position of the engine and this is our BDC, top dead center and bottom dead center. Okay. So initially assume that the piston is at TDC and the volume above the TDC is called as clearance volume. Okay. And the volume covered by the piston when it moves from TDC to BDC, this is called as swept volume or stroke volume. Both swept volume and clearance volume constitutes the total volume of the engine. Okay. So when the piston is at TDC, the volume above the piston is called as clearance volume, and when the piston is at BDC, the volume above the piston is the total volume. This clearance volume plus this stroke volume. Is it clear? Right. Now assume that the piston is at TDC initially. Now the exhaust inlet valve is open. Now the piston will start moving downwards. So what happens? When the piston is moving downwards, there will be creation of some partial vacuum above the piston. Top, you take a syringe, close it at the top and pull the plunger downwards. So you will feel some sucking force. Is it right or not? So there is nothing but suction or vacuum. So the same is happened here also. When the piston moves downwards, partial vacuum is created above the piston. Okay. So during this process, the fuel, the charge enters into the cylinder. So what is this charge? The fluid which is entering into the cylinder is called as charge. The fluids which are entering into the cylinder is called as charge. And this charge differs from engine to engine. In case of spark ignition engine, the charge is fuel plus air. The charge is fuel plus air. So this is the charge for SI engine. In case of CI engine ante compression ignition engine. For CI engine, it is air only. Charge is air only. So what does it mean? In case of a 4-stroke spark ignition engine, when the piston moves downwards, air plus fuel mixture will enter into the cylinder. Where do you get it from? So for that purpose, there is a device called as carburetor. Have you heard this word? Carburetor in motorcycles. So this carburetor is a device which is used to mix fuel with air. So it takes the fuel from the fuel tank. So here is the fuel tank. It takes the fuel from the fuel tank and it takes air from one side. So like this. So this is the carburetor. So fuel from one side and air from another side, and it mixes both the things thoroughly as per the requirement in proper ratios. That is called as air fuel ratio. We will discuss later. Okay, mixes it so that you will get air plus fuel mixture. So while mixing, it splits the fuel into small particles so that it is evaporated immediately. The fuel is evaporated immediately and it is easily mixed with the air. You cannot, then this air fuel mixture is called as charge. That air fuel mixture is called as charge. This charge is entered into the cylinder. So that is the case for spark ignition engine. In case of CI engine, there is no carburetor. There is no spark plug. We will discuss. In that case, only air enters into the cylinder. Charan. Right? Now, so here the piston is moving from TDC to BDC. So during this process, the entire space, say for example, it has reached BDC. Now this entire space is filled with charge. That means fuel plus air. That means petrol plus air. Now, at this position, the inlet valve is closed. The inlet valve is closed and the entire space, the total volume is filled with the charge. That is fuel plus air. Now, at this condition, inlet valve is closed. This is also enclosed. Here, this is open. This is closed. Exhaust valve is closed. In this case, both the valves are closed. Now, this piston will start upwards. Starts moving upwards. Then what happens? What is there above the piston? What is there above the piston? Charge. That is air plus fuel mixture. And both the valves are closed. Then what happens to the charge? It gets compressed. It gets compressed. So what happens if the charge is compressed? What happens to its pressure and volume? In a closed chamber, you are compressing the gas. What happens? The pressure increases. Am I right or not? The pressure increases, as well as the temperature also increases, volume reduces. So during this process, the pressure increases, volume reduces, and the temperature also increases. You take a cycle pump, so you reciprocate the plunger up and down. What happens? The air is compressed and sent into the tire. At the time, if you touch that pump, it is hot. Why? Because the temperature is increased. Is it right or not? So as the charge is compressed, the temperature and pressure of the charge is increased. Obviously the volume is decreased. Now the piston reaches TDC once again. Say here, in the first case, this is called as first stroke. The piston moves from TDC to BDC, and now the piston has started from BDC to TDC. So during in the first stroke, initially the crank position is like this when the piston is at TDC. Okay, as the piston moves downwards, it makes half revolution. So this is that position. Okay, and again when the piston moves upwards, it will move like this. So another half revolution. So here the piston has made 2 strokes and 1 revolution. Right. Now what happens is, now the piston has reached TDC once again. Now whatever be the charge which is collected in the cylinder is compressed to this volume. That means it is having very high pressure and temperature. At this condition, the spark plug gives spark like this. Then what happens? Here the charge is fuel plus air mixture, which is in hot condition, temperature is very high. Now it is given with spark. What happens? Will it burn or not? Obviously it catches fire. So you are switching on your gas stove. What happens? The fuel comes in the form of gaseous form through the burner, and simply you are giving a spark through the lighter. What happens? The flame occurs. Here, this is the charge which is at high temperature and high pressure, and you are giving spark. So it catches fire instantaneously and the combustion starts. So in order to have the combustion, it needs oxygen. So where do you get this oxygen? We have already mixed air with the fuel. So it consumes the oxygen in that air, and the combustion is completed. As the combustion takes place, the combustion gases are formed, and these combustion gases are at very high pressure. Already the charge is at high pressure. As the combustion takes place, almost it is just like bursting. So that's why the combustion gases have very high pressure, and they apply pressure on the piston. They apply pressure on the piston so that it moves downwards once again. Due to the here, this is due to the pressure of the piston, it moves downwards. Now again the piston moves from TDC to BDC. During this process, already the crank position is like this, and it will make another half revolution. Is it clear till now? Now, in this position also, this is closed and this is closed. Now, the piston has reached its bottommost position, that is BDC, and now again it will move upwards. So during this process, this exhaust valve is open, inlet valve remains closed. So what happens? As the piston moves upwards, whatever be the gases, they are called as exhaust gases. They are called as exhaust gases. They are sent out through this exhaust valve. They are sent out through this exhaust valve so that the piston again reaches from BDC to TDC, reaches TDC from BDC, and again the crank will make another half revolution. So with this, one cycle is completed. With this, one cycle is completed. So what does it mean? Again the piston has reached TDC. So what happens next? Again this one, the piston is at TDC. Again when it moves downwards, fresh charge enters into the cylinder. So this is opened and this is closed. After that this, after that this one, after that this one. So like that, number of cycles are occurring in this engine. So this is called as a 4-stroke engine, because here the cycle, one cycle is completed in 4 strokes of piston and 2 revolutions of the crank. Is it right or not? So here the cycle is completed in 4 strokes of the piston and 2 revolutions of crank. Is it right or not? When the crank makes 4 strokes, obviously it can make 2 revolutions. So here the entire cycle is completed in 4 strokes. Now let us name the stroke. The first one, what happens during this first stroke? The charge is sucked into the, sucked means it is taken into the cylinder. So when here the piston is moving from TDC to BDC, so that the charge is entered into the cylinder. So here the charge is sucked into the cylinder. So that's why this is called as suction stroke. What is the name of the stroke? Suction stroke. What happens in suction stroke? In suction stroke, the inlet valve is opened, exhaust valve is closed. The piston moves from TDC to BDC and the charge is entered into the cylinder. That's all. Close. And in the next stroke, what happens? Both the valves are closed and the charge is being compressed. Is it right or not? The charge is being compressed by the piston. So that's why this stroke is called as compression stroke. So what happens in compression stroke of a 4-stroke engine? So both inlet and exhaust valves are closed and the piston moves from BDC to TDC, duly compressing the charge. So as the charge is compressed, the pressure is increased, pressure of the charge is increased, temperature also increases and volume decreases. So that happens in compression stroke. And what happens in this case? Here, both the valves are closed once again and the piston is moving from TDC to BDC. How this is moving from TDC to BDC? Because of the pressure exerted by the gases, combustion gases. So here the combustion takes place. What happens? The combustion takes place. So here actual power is generated. In this stroke only the actual power is generated because of the combustion. These combustion gases exert force on this piston. So this is nothing but generation of power. So that's why this is called as power stroke. What is the name of the stroke? Power stroke. And during this process, as the piston moves downwards, here initially the pressure of the gases are very high. As the piston moves downwards, these gases expands. Am I right or not? So that's why the pressure reduces. So that's why this is also called as expansion stroke. Expansion stroke. And during this stroke, both the valves are closed once again, right? And what is the last stroke? What happens in this stroke? Here the piston moves from BDC to TDC and exhaust valve is opened, inlet valve is closed. So what happens when it is moving from BDC to TDC? All the gases are expelled out. That means exhaust takes place. So that's why this is called as exhaust stroke. So this is called as exhaust stroke. So how many strokes are there in a 4-stroke engine? 4. What are the names? Suction, compression, power and exhaust.